I've always enjoyed digging into the beginning of things, whether it's life on Earth or video games. I wanted to play the very first beat 'em up to see how the genre went from this to this to this to this. Oh yeah, a Fire Emblem episode is coming someday, but today we're starting from the beginning. Raise your fists and let's beat them up. While not the first martial arts action game by any means, Nekketsu Kōha Kunio-kun, known as Renegade in other parts of the world, wrote the blueprint for the genre. Created by Yoshihisa Kishimoto, the game was inspired by his real-life experience of getting into daily fights in high school, partly triggered by a bad breakup with his girlfriend. The game's protagonist, Kunio, is based on Kishimoto. Yes, that Kunio. Not only did this game invent the beat-em-up genre, but it was also the beginning of the Kunio-kun franchise that's still going strong today. The game hit Japanese arcades in May 1986 and September in North America. Europe received the game in 1987, but I couldn't find the month of release. There were a lot of changes when the game was released outside of Japan. The original story is about rival high schools beating up Kunio's best friend Hiroshi. The Western versions changed the high school setting to gangs kidnapping his girlfriend with visuals inspired by movies like The Warriors. Characters like Riki and Misuzu were redesigned to look more like gang members. They also removed the cutscene at the start of each stage and changed the ending a little. Renegade will serve as the basis of this review. My first experience was actually in 2024, and let me tell you, I didn't expect this level of depth. You have 3 buttons, a left attack button, a right attack button, and a jump button. If you're facing the left attack button will always be the punch button, and the right attack button does a back kick. If you're facing the right button becomes a punch, and the left button becomes a back kick. Think Double Dragon 2. This setup takes time to master and is not immediately intuitive, but it's incredibly forward-thinking. This lets you deal with enemies behind you because the playfield is a semi-3D plane where you can move in all directions, and enemies can circle behind you. It's not a problem when you can attack backwards. Many beat-em-ups from the 90s don't have a good solution to being surrounded. In addition, you have jump kicks, running attacks, over-the-shoulder throws, and a pin down and punch attack, just to name a few. Most of these moves are very useful, and they give you options on how to deal with enemies. In other action games, enemies die in one hit, while here, the enemies take multiple hits to kill. You need strategies to deal with different combat situations. Do you want to get a fast kill by knocking someone off the platform? Several moves can do this. Do you want to get in more hits while the enemy's on the floor? You can do that. Is an enemy sneaking up behind you while you're kneeing another in the gut? Do an over-the-shoulder throw to knock down the guy behind you. You want to escape? Double tap forward to run. I thought the first beat-em-up would have a simplistic moveset, but this surpassed my expectations. There are newer beat-em-ups with fewer moves. The only thing simplistic is the stages. You see, each stage is just an arena with a few enemies to fight. The arena is maybe 2 or 3 screens wide, instead of proper stages like later games. The boss would attack you after you defeated a few goons. A stage can be beaten in a minute or 2, and there are only 4 stages. You can beat the entire game in under 10 minutes. Once you beat it, the game loops back to the beginning. This game is short, but it's also very hard. Part of it is due to the controls not being as snappy between each attack. Enemies can often slide just out of your range to prevent you from hitting them. They can counter your punches mid-combo. The last boss can one-hit kill with his gun. I mean, I guess that's realistic. I had to borrow footage from another channel because I can't even get to the last boss. It's classic arcade quarter-munching cheapness. If you lose all your lives, you restart from the beginning, even if you have credits. You can't even get a friend to help since you take turns in 2-player mode. On the visual front, the game is nothing special, even by 86 standards. The game feels a little sluggish too. That probably also contributes to the gameplay not feeling as snappy. Regardless of the version you play, the graphics suffer from drab colors and grainy looking art. The music fares better with an upbeat soundtrack. The sound effects don't hold up as well. Your punches sound like you're punching a plastic bag, while the harder hits sound a little farty. They also sprinkled in some sound samples that sound okay for the time.
Get lost, punk!
Also, I feel like I've heard the first stage's music somewhere, but I can't put my finger on it. There were many home ports too. I originally wanted to tackle all of them, but I don't know much about 80s home computers, so I'll come back another time. Part of the reason this video took so long was due to my flip-flopping over whether to cover those versions. I will cover the NES port because it's very interesting. This is another example of home ports making up for weaker hardware by offering more gameplay. The graphics and music are downgraded to NES quality, but I find the simple sprites cleaner and more pleasing to look at. Every stage has been expanded in the NES port. Take the first stage for example. You start fighting on the subway platform, then you fight inside the train, and finally you face the boss in another station. Or what about the second stage? You get a motorcycle fight section that's not in the arcade game. There's new music to go with these new areas too. The new music is so good, they even used it in the live-action Kunio-kun TV series in Japan. One bizarre omission is Misuzu as the boss of stage 3. That stage just ends after you clear the enemies. This is weird since Misuzu does appear as an enemy in the new maze area. Not sure why they moved her there. The game also adds secret power-ups that you can trigger to make you stronger. The game even has different difficulty options. The controls also feel slightly snappier than the arcade version. Since the NES only has 2 buttons, you can only do a jump kick when you press A and B together. I like this change. Jumping has no purpose in the arcade version, and you have to press the proper attack direction to do a jump kick. Now, you automatically jump kick by pressing A and B regardless of the direction you face. The running punch move is less delayed, making it easier to use in the NES version. Besides graphics and sound, I think the NES version is the better game. The arcade game isn't bad by any means, but it is a product of its time. A time when games were short and hard as hell to get players to pump in more quarters. I think for a first in the genre, it's still more fun to play than something like, say, Street Fighter 1. Now that game is bad. Do I recommend this game? I'd say if you're curious and want to experience where it all started, give it a try. If you're just casually looking for a beat-em-up to play, look elsewhere. I think the NES version is better, and I would recommend it over the arcade, but neither game is a must-play. The original arcade game is available on the PS4 and Nintendo Switch. This is straight up the arcade version brought to modern console with extra bells and whistles. You get extras such as a time attack and caravan mode, and an online high score ranking. The NES version is not released on anything else as far as I know. Just make sure you're not paying insane prices for the NES game. I'll do more research into the home computers before I look at those ports. I don't want to say a version is bad because I didn't understand the limitations of these machines. I'll come back to this another day. Until next time, this is the Illiterate Scholar signing off.